how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Good to see you today, sir.
It's good to see you too, sir. Lots of stuff going on in our world. You know, I got to tell you, Bill, I'm a lot worried about these next 52 or 3 days before the election, because so much can happen, and you wonder how much Trump can do as the president-elect. I don't know whether you heard this, and it's not getting a lot of talk. Supposedly, Joe Biden he's considering authorizing the use of nuclear weapons by the Ukraine.
Well, yeah, he considered giving them nukes, too. But I'll tell you one thing he has done that's an absolute for certain. He is preparing to give the Ukraine another $24 billion in aid. Yeah. And we all know this, that not all the money makes it to the Ukraine for supposedly what it's about. It comes back to the United States to politicians, senators, congressmen, and kickbacks, and other certain people for kickbacks. So what are we doing? Are we doing a last-minute payoff, In
March of 2022, the wife of former Ukrainian minister Ihor Kodivsky, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, but close enough for government work.
He's a whore. It doesn't matter.
Declared $28 million and 1.3 million euros when she was entering Hungary. I remember that story. Mm-hmm. It wasn't long after the war started. She'd taken a bunch of money. Mind you, he's a minister that makes what? In the Ukraine, he probably makes
$500 or $700. Yeah,
he doesn't make a lot of money. She's walking out of the country with $28 million in a suitcase. And she declared it. I mean, I guess she figured, well, I just can't sneak across the border. And I don't know whether, Bill, they let her in. I don't know whether they figured, well, okay, you can go.
Well, we didn't hear that she was not let in. We didn't hear that somebody confiscated the money. So I got to believe she got in, and that money is secure in her name.
And she's living la vida loca, as they would say. But anyway, she's not the only one. And like you say, $28 million. One of the former presidents of Hungary, I believe it was Hungary, maybe it was Poland, but he said at least half the money that's being given to the Ukraine is being taken and being laundered and being given to like that minister and other people like that in the Ukraine, and a lot of it is being channeled back to the U.S. to Democratic politicians.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something that, speaking of which, Gates has said he is going to expose all the kickbacks and everything of Congress.
This is maybe the reason why they didn't want him to be the Attorney General. But I think he's going to be put into a position like to be a special prosecutor or something like that. Mm. He's going to have power. And he'll be put into a position where he doesn't have to be approved by Congress.
He's got the goods, he's got the voice, and he'll have the ear, and he's going to expose them. And that's what they really are worried about, is that they've had a cake ride. They've had a cakewalk.
Yeah.
For a long time, and all of a sudden, I mean, how does Pelosi have all those tremendous investments? And it turns out she's not the only one. I forget the name of the guy, but he's got an $11.1 million home. He's got his $1.2 million. I'm getting close to the figures, but I don't have the exact figures in front of me. $1.1 million car in the garage. He's got this. He's got that, and he makes that on a congressman's salary. Yeah. Give me a break.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. A lot of these guys,
stocks.
I know, and I'm not going to say any names, but I know representatives who have gone in to Congress, average guys with ambition. they've gone into Congress, they've maybe spent a couple of terms in Congress. They all come out with something a lot more than they went in with. And by the way, you know, they have a health care plan in Congress that is light years better than ours, the peons. I mean,
I forget what it is. I think you've got to serve 1 term or 2 terms, and that's it. You get your salary for life. You get your health care for life. I mean,
how would you like to be in a job where you work for 4 years and you decide, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to quit? And that's what I mean, it's not them being fired. They decide not to run again. They quit the job, but they get paid for the rest of their life.
I got a buddy that did that. He's an attorney, and he did it. And he's still an attorney. But he's got every other benefit that goes with what he did before. And, you know, it must be nice.
Oh, it has to be. And speaking of nice, let me take a moment to remind you that our Right Side shop is open right now.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
All you have to do is go to rightsideshop.com. And if you're looking for Christmas gifts, forget Black Friday. You don't need Black Friday. Really, you don't. You don't have to go out and race through the mall. You don't have to worry about rubbing shoulders with all these, deal-hungry strangers. No. All you have to do is go to rightsideshop.com and look at all the stuff we have there. We have cups, T-shirts, baseball hats. We've got Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. I'll get it right. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, medium roast or medium decaf roast, and a little bit of every profit that is made in those stores goes to us. We will then take that, hopefully, and help to promote the show during the upcoming year. But right now, you know, people say, well, why are you doing that? Well, we're doing it because other shows, they'll put out like a GoFundMe or a Patreon button or something like, and all they're saying is, will you give us money? Well, Bill and I thought maybe what we should do is
give you something
in return. Yeah, if you're going to help us out, help us with the show, you'll get something to remind you that we're here and what you did. So, but you got to see the Daddy's Home sweatshirts and T-shirts and mugs. They're fabulous. It's something you want to bring with you to Thanksgiving dinner if you have a liberal sitting at the table. And speaking of that, Bill, Sharon Stone, you know, the movie actress.
Yeah, I know who she is.
Sharon Stone is saying that you should ignore the people who voted for Trump because they're uneducated hicks. Yes, of course. She is erudite and very learned. We are the peons and the rabble of the world. Listen to what she said. This is, by the way, I think she said this in Italy. You know, I mean, she couldn't have been any further away from the U.S., but she said this, and she said it for the world to hear.
You know, Italy has seen fascism. Italy has seen these things. You guys, you understand what happens. You have seen this before. My country is in its adolescence. Adolescence is very arrogant. Adolescence thinks it knows everything. Adolescence is naive and ignorant and arrogant. And we are in our ignorant, arrogant adolescence. We haven't seen this before in our country. So Americans who don't travel, who 80% don't have a passport, who are uneducated, are in their extraordinary naivete. What I can say is that the only way that we can help with these issues is to help each other. Now, we can't just say that women should help women because that's the only way we have survived so far. We must say that good men must help good men, and those good men must be very aware that a lot of your friends are not good men. And you can't continue to pretend that your friends are good men when they are not good men. And you must be very clear-minded and understand that your friends who are not good men are dangerous, violent men, and you have to keep them away from your daughters, your wives, and your girlfriends. Because this is a time when we can no longer look away when bad men are bad.
Does she have any, does she realize that how many women voted for Donald Trump? I mean, it was an enormous amount of people. By the way, a lot of the young women voted for Donald Trump, during this past election. But she talks about all of these things like we're the uneducated rebel. Like, of course, Elon Musk, right? Maybe one of the smartest human beings ever born, right? He's the guy who launches rockets and then catches them. He keeps developing and redeveloping the Tesla, making it the premier electric car out there. And I've heard them talking about an alternative fuel so that maybe down the road Tesla will not be just electric. Maybe it'll be something else. But the guy he's a brilliant guy. I would say in the same category as like a Tesla, Nikola Tesla, or Thomas Edison, that kind of guy. But she would consider him an uneducated fool because he voted for Trump. I mean,
and she's marching to the orders of Mao Zedong, who basically wanted to take what he thought were stupid women to turn the men, to communism. She's a feminazi.
She's made. I should remind people who are really not familiar with her resume that Sharon Stone was an also-ran actress for a while until she got her breakthrough role in the motion picture Basic Instinct. And the key moment in that movie, and I'm going to try to be gentle and be cautious about how I describe this, the key moment in that movie that everybody talked about and literally gave her a reputation in the movie business was when she's being interrogated and she's has her legs crossed and she switches her legs. She flips her legs, and when that happens, the camera can see that she's not wearing any undergarment, okay? So you can imagine what is seen. Now some people, they tried to make it sound like it was an accident. Let me explain something about movies. Nothing's an accident. That scene was, and I know this sounds crazy, that scene was lit, meaning somebody put a spot so that you could see what they wanted you to see. It was intentional. That's what she's known for. That's what Sharon Stone is known for. She has done other movies that have been she's a good actress. Don't get me wrong, she's a good actress, but if she hadn't done that sleazy scene in that sleazy movie with Michael Douglas, she wouldn't have the fame she has today. But then she sits and wants to tell the world how uneducated and how ignorant we are over here. My God, do you realize so many percent of the people don't have passports? Well, first of all, Sharon, this is a big friggin' country. You can spend your whole life just trying to find out what's happening in this country, but she thinks that to be educated, you have to travel to Europe. By the way, I have traveled to Europe. I've been to France.
Oh, wait. You got a passport?
I got a passport. Yeah, they don't tell anybody.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a passport. Went to France, went around. It's nice. It's basically an older country. I mean,
just because you're older doesn't mean you're wiser.
I have to remind Sharon that during two major wars in the past century, Europe was their bacon was saved by those ignorant rabble over in the United States who got on boats and sailed across and took care of business. She sounds arrogant, and by the way, at the end she sounds vapid, meaning she has nothing to say. She's just mumbling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
she rambled on. I mean, she made her point. She should have shut up at that, but she didn't. And the point wasn't very clear, and I think it wasn't clear in her head either that what she was saying was
Yeah,
garbage.
she started telling women that good men and bad men. And hey, listen, Sharon, wait a second, but that's not what you were talking about. You were talking about the election. You were talking. Good men voted for Donald Trump, and bad men voted for Donald Trump too. I mean, and it's the same thing happened with Kamala. You know, I mean, it was good and bad people. I mean, they just made their choices. But she made it sound like if you voted for Trump, you were a bad person. Period. End of sentence. And the only good people who voted were people who voted for the left. That's dumb. No, she's with all due respect, you know, she's a numbskull, in my opinion. You hear stuff like this. As a matter of fact, I want to play Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana.
Oh yeah, he's got a
PC.
message for those Hollywood elite.
Yes, he does.
So we went through an election, Senator, where their closing argument is that if you like Donald Trump, you're garbage. He's a fascist, a racist, and a Nazi. That was their closing argument. And I noticed a lot of the Hollywood elite. I'd be negligent if I didn't ask you about this. You know, Alec Baldwin calling the American people deliberately ignorant. Sharon Stone saying that Americans are ignorant, arrogant, and adolescent. You have a New York state legislator that wants, New York to secede from the Union along with Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Vermont. What is your reaction to all that? I think you're going to have a very unique take.
Here's what I think. I think these people are goofy. They have the right to their opinion, but they're just goofy. They hate George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. They think our kids ought to be able to change genders at recess. They carry around Ziploc bags of kale to give themselves energy. To me, to each his own. To me, kale tastes like I'd rather be fat. Now, these people are entitled to their opinion, but they have an unwarranted sense of moral and intellectual superiority. They think they're smarter and more virtuous than the American people. And they think we're not real people. But we were, and we are real people. And in this last election, we got real mad. And we sent a message clearly, unequivocally. And my message to all my friends and my enemies in America is happy Thanksgiving and stay deplorable, my friend.
He's a character. You know, people would, I'm sure Sharon Stone would listen to Senator Kennedy and think, oh, he's a hick, uneducated. I think, if I remember correctly, Senator Kennedy was a Rhodes Scholar. I'm just saying, he's not. He's
Right.
not what he purports to be. He presents. He's kind of down home. You expect him to be sitting around maybe a campfire or maybe in a general store with his feet up on the stove, talking to his friends. You know, but he's a very educated guy, and he's also somebody you want in your corner when you are debating, because he's a terrific debater. But Sharon Stone would, I'm sure, think he's deplorable. You know, it's amazing, Bill. There's something going on right now where the left doesn't realize that they lost.
That they lost?
Yeah, it's like they're acting as if we just didn't get it. Meaning the millions of people who voted for President Trump. It was, dare I say, a mandate. I know it's used a lot.
Now that you won, here's what you've got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Not listen to you. That's what we got to do.
That's exactly right. You got it.
I mean, just because you lost doesn't mean that you still get to have power. You lost for a reason. You know, nobody wants to hear your crap.
Other things that are going on, Bill, I didn't, they're talking, we mentioned a little bit about what's happening in the Ukraine. It's having an effect all over Europe. They're actually, to a certain extent, in a war footing in a lot of countries like France and England.
More troops.
Yeah, they have troops training. It's like, do they know something that we don't know over here? We are walking around in a daze. The people are.
How many days do we have left in that days?
You mean between now and election time? Is that what you?
Yeah, 50 days.
We have 53 days exactly. 53 days from today.
53 days. A lot can happen in 53 days. I mean, one misstep, one errant missile, and you had the Ukraine fire off more American missiles. You've got the UK sending more of their storm shadows, or what are they called?
What is the logic behind this? Why are they poking the bear with a sharp stick?
Because sometimes it's better to poke the bear with a sharp stick than to be exposed for what you really are.
So you think that they're doing this, the bad guys, the deep state, they're doing this with the hopes that it will cover up their wrongdoings?
Well, that's the only thing I can figure. Why would you want to sit there and intentionally pick a fight unless, it's like if you got a schoolyard rumble. There's one guy mouthing off over here. There's another guy mouthing off over there. Those two guys aren't going to fight. It's the gangs behind them, so they're picking a fight because they want to distract from who and what they really are. And Russia's the token bad guy. I'm not saying they're good guys, but we're not either.
You haven't seen much of President Trump. I've seen actually very little of him since he won. I did see that there was I think a Truth Social comment that he made that he's never seen more men with guns in his life, meaning that now that he's the president-elect, he is surrounded by a massive Secret Service presence, which is good. I keep thinking, though, back to what Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, said over the weekend. I think he was on with Maria Bartiromo. He was talking about how this is the most dangerous time of his presidency, the lame duck period that he has to wait. He said that there's a lot of people out there who don't want him to make it to the inauguration. And
let's just say that happens. What happens if he doesn't make it? Well, Vance steps up, yes, but the whole ball game gets changed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my question is, and I don't think we've ever had this happen where a president-elect has been assassinated. This is a scary thing to even think about, right? And I don't do this lightly, but would Vance be the logical next president? Would he become the president-elect? Or because it happened before the presidency, would they have to have a new election? Or would the current administration say, no, we'll stay until we figure this out?
Well, it would give the Democrats some room to argue that they deserve to stay in power, and that's what they would want to do. They would want to sit there and stay in power. What happens if they do something that, I don't know, let's say we go to war. The War Powers Act, the whole 9 yards.
Well, Russia said a couple of days ago that all targets are potential targets. I mean, what Putin was saying was that we may go after like an American base. There's the new base in Poland they just announced a couple of days ago that might be a target for the Russians. And would that give Biden and his people an excuse to escalate, the war into a shooting war where we have troops going after their troops?
Sure, it would. Well, it could escalate into a war. You got to wonder, though, because Putin says they've targeted a base that has nukes there and drones and everything.
Well, Poland says that the U.S. has told them there's no nukes there. Do you believe that?
Yeah. You believe everything Uncle Sam says?
Well, all I can tell you, folks, is that this is the scariest of times, and we're not in a good situation. I am afraid for President Trump. I think I told you that Eric Prince said that it's not the guy that's got a rifle and he's 100 yards away. It's the guy who has the drone and he's 10 miles away. and he
You know, I was
flies it.
thinking,
Go ahead.
they're talking about all these drones, and like you said, they're looking for somebody that's got drones. They don't know who it is.
Right.
And I'm wondering if drones are going to be like guns to where, because you can buy them at the store. I always wanted to buy a drone. I don't have a drone, but I'm wondering if now because of the popularity of them, even the size of them, you can get for $99. You can get a little drone that can fly a long time
with a built-in camera.
With a built-in camera, can spy, but it could also carry a package that could be very potent and uncontrollable. Is it going to be considered like a gun? Right now, little drones,
where you have to register them? Probably, yeah.
You're supposed to register your drones, and if you want to use them commercially to make money,
right,
you have to get the FAA drone license. Not a hard thing to do, but that way there's accountability. But I'm wondering if altogether you can't have a drone unless, just like going and buying a gun. There's going to be some paperwork to it, and they know where everyone is, or, they just say, no more drones.
I'm concerned about Black Friday and drones.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the millions of people who are going to fill the malls with all of the great holiday intentions and, the happiness that goes with shopping at the holidays. And we've forgotten that about 2 months ago, the Homeland Security came out with a warning that said it is a matter of fact that we have bad guys who have infiltrated our country. They are here, and we don't know where they are. We know as a matter of fact that there are terrorists now in this country, and they're planning something. Heck, about 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, they stopped the New York Stock Exchange from being bombed by a terrorist who said he wanted to do something like bin Laden to the stock exchange. So here we have Black Friday coming up. I told the people that I love if you're going to the mall, you better be very careful. You go about your business, but be aware of your surroundings and also make note of where the exits are. In the place that you're shopping. I mean, because you don't know what to expect. Because the government, the people who are charged with protecting you, don't know where these people are. They just know they're here.
Look, there's so many different ways. You got drones. Look, you got Uber drivers. Somebody could get into an Uber and be carrying some kind of explosive package, and they're on a suicide mission. So they don't care about the driver. They don't care about anybody or the people where they're going. They just want to get they want to get into the heart of it. So if we get through Friday with no incident at all,
yeah,
I think we're going to be lucky.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very concerned, and you won't find me on Friday at any mall because I'll get my stuff from Amazon. I don't care whether it's owned by a leftist as long as he gets my package here in 24 hours. Smoking like a true capitalist.
Well, you know what? I mean, hell, there's probably, not everything is shipped from an Amazon warehouse, but it can be delivered by Amazon. I'm sure there's some vendor out there that could be sending packages or things.
These I can see these scenes in one of my scripts. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, we're thinking out of school or out of box, but out of school too. But a terrorist does that. They used to do mail bombs. People go, oh, what did I get? Boom, that's it. You remember those back in San Jose got them and all over the place.
Oh yeah, what was
Anthrax was
the Unabomber? That's he made his reputation. This guy was it Kaczynski, who lived in the woods, and he was a genius, had a fabulous education. His brother, I believe, was an educated guy who worked in New York and couldn't believe that his brother, what was the name? I can't think of his first name, but his last name was Kaczynski. I'm sure I'll think of it when the show is over. That happens when you get older. But Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski?
Ted, Ted.
Yeah, very good. See, you got to keep working that computer. Otherwise, it starts to rust out on you. But he lived in the woods, and he was mailing bombs to people around the country. And like you said, they were unassuming, minding their own business. They get a package in the mail like we all do on occasion. You just rip the package open and bam. It is the most evil way of doing. I mean, in the old West, they go into the street. It was man to man, and you draw. And to the winner goes the spoils, and the spoils being you live. But these little weasels with these bombs, they send them to you. You have no idea what's going. They send it to you like it's just a regular package, and they do the terrible damage. Anyway, other things going on in our news. You heard about President Trump has said, he has a certain amount of power, even though he's not president yet. He can tell his neighbors what he's going to do. He told Mexico and Canada, look at, I hate to tell you this, but when I'm president, if you don't start enforcing the borders on your side, if you don't stop these people from coming across the border, if you don't monitor the fentanyl and cut back on the fentanyl coming into the United States, we're going to hit you with 25% tariffs. And that may not seem a lot to you, 25%. That's a big, big deal.
And the funny thing is, the left is attacking. They're going, well, they're not telling you this, but and the companies are going, yeah, we'll pass that along to the consumers. Well, let me explain something to you. Basically, when you buy into that logic, you're dismissing American jobs and ingenuity and American product know-how. So, in other words, what I'm telling you is buy American.
Yeah.
Solves the problem. There is no tariff on it. We don't tariff ourselves. There's a regular tax, and the problem is over.
Well, let me tell you let's go to Mexico for a second and talk about their tariffs. A lot of what they do, a lot of the companies that will be charged will be American companies that have gone over to Mexico, built these massive plants.
Then get the hell out and come back.
Yeah, they're making things like Lincolns and things like that, and then they're shipping them back into the United States. Well, what will happen is those cars are going to now be 25% more expensive to sell. Ford doesn't want to do that. They don't want to pass along a 25% increase to their product. They just can't do that. So, like Bill said, what they're going to do, believe it or not, these companies can afford to shut down those plants in Mexico and reopen those plants in the United States. And the car may cost a little more to be made here, but it'll get made and it'll be American again.
Well, yeah, they wanted to escape. Now, listen up, union workers. They wanted to escape you and the high prices, so they went there to lower the cost. The only people that made the money are the oligarchs, the people that own the company, and they make it for a lower price, but still sold it at the premium price. So the 25% tariff, really, I think that's nullified if they bring the plant back and hire you again. Because same diff, but I got to believe in American people and know-how that we will make a better machine.
They still have people unaware of this. If you go to Detroit, you'll find a lot of big empty buildings. They're still there. Not all of them, but some. I think there's a plant, believe it or not, I think the Studebaker plant, a massive building in Detroit. Even though it's older, it's still there. These companies, if they wanted to, in a short period of time, because they have so much money,
prefabricated, refitted,
absolutely, they could retool that building, and all of a sudden, that empty ghost of a building is a vibrant manufacturing plant again. And they have the resources to do that.
Oh yeah, they could take the shell, gut it, clean it, and refit it, and be pumping out cars in a month's time.
So how effective, first of all, Mexico, I think her name is it Claudia? It's Claudia Scheinbaum. That's the name of by the way, she's not Native American. Her family moved, I think, to Mexico from Lithuania. But she's the president, and I think she's a real leftist. And she put a statement out essentially saying, well, two can play that game. We can charge tariffs, too. Let me explain something to you, folks. It's not even close. The game isn't even close. we don't need Mexican products. They don't make enough unique things in Mexico that it's going to have an effect on our economy. However, the United States is a massive, massive market for these other countries. That's why even China wants to sell here, because there's this need for buying things, right? So she can put a 25% tariff on Mexican stuff, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts that you won't even know there's a tariff on the Mexican product, because it'll, like Bill said, they'll start making the similar product right here in the U.S., and that'll be it. Life will go on. Conversely, if they don't get to sell their product here, it's going to cripple their economy. So her response was the wrong response. Her response shows her naivete. She's relatively new. She's a new president. However, to our north, Justin Trudeau, he called within 2 hours of that. I guess he posted it on X. President Trump did, or maybe it was on Truth Social, but or maybe he did it on both. And Trudeau was right there trying to figure things out with President Trump. He called him.
Well, if he did that, then I'll give him credit for that. He's a smart guy in that aspect.
Well, I think he doesn't want to cripple his country. He knows that there's a lot crossing the border, and a lot of that will cripple their economy. He doesn't need that.
Well, think about it. The ultimatum is, we got to get these illegals out of here. You help. We don't have to put a tariff on you.
Right.
But we can. So, to me, it's a smart move. Whether you think it's a smart move, well, that's up to you. But I think it's a smart move.
We talk about the Ukraine, Bill. What we're not talking about is the fact that China seems to be positioning itself for taking over Taiwan. And in the Biden administration, unbeknownst to the American people, unbeknownst to the common man in this country, I don't know if we're aware of this or not, but apparently we are staging combat troops on islands in the region. Are you aware of that? We're staging troops around Taiwan. Now, what does that say to China? It says that we're going to be an active participant in that war if they decide to go in, right?
Right, but China's already said it's theirs, and they'll fight for it.
Well, they've said it's theirs since Mao Tse-tung.
I think they're more serious about it now. But I'll tell you what, the tariffs is actually a pretty good tool, because from Trump's old regime, they were shutting down Chinese plants, and they're just about shut down. Biden was trying to brag about it, saying, yeah, they're shutting down, and because we're bringing back jobs. No, Joe, you weren't bringing back jobs. It was Trump that was bringing back jobs, and that was still taking place while you're in the White House. But it's going to go full scale in the next 4 years, and you're going to see a major transition. If China has no way to make any money, they've got one of two choices: comply or fight, which they'll, if they get strong, they're going to do what they do and fight. So,
we're into the third decade of the 21st century, and I think China's goal is to position itself this century at being the most dominant country in the world, economically, militarily. Pardon?
They want to replace the dollar in dominance, and there's talk of getting rid of the dollar and going crypto. And that very well could happen under Trump. I don't know. That's been in the works for a while. I'm used to the dollar. I'm comfortable with the dollar. The crypto, I'm not so comfortable with, but although I own crypto, so.
What we've proven in the past 4 years is the weakness of our country. We had a strong president between 2016 and 2020. And then I believe, and this is just my opinion, and we can have opinions now because Trump is the president-elect, but I think that there was some manipulation of the 2020 election, and we had a fraudulent president put into office. But we went from having a powerful smart negotiator in that position to having a weak, spineless fraud in the position of the president. And the world, they could see it. I mean, we went from having an alpha male, shaking hands with leaders around the world to having this guy who got lost in the woods. That's what we went to. That's our weakness. Now we have that strong alpha male again, but they know that if they wait long enough, is it going to happen again in 2028? Are we going to have somebody who doesn't have...
Well, I'm hoping it does.
You're hoping what? That it happens again? Wait, you missed it. I think you didn't hear me.
That we have Trump in 2028.
No, we have you're hoping we have a Trump-type person in 2020.
Right.
What I was saying was that, are we going to have another Biden in 2028?
Well, we could, but I think we're going to... I don't know what's going on. They don't have anybody.
Well,
and Kamala was their answer, and Gavin Newsom is not an answer. And the reason it's you just so people know, sometimes in our connection, there's a lag in it. So
don't look at me when you say that. I'm not your lag.
No, there's an internet glitch.
Oh, you mean a technical lag? Yes, of course.
Yeah, and it lags in between the connection. It's recorded on one connection, but where everything is kind of
we're getting a little behind the curtain here. I feel like I'm watching The
The
Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
There is no man behind the curtain.
So we have a terribly tentative situation right now going on in our world, not just in the Ukraine, but we have it also in Taiwan. And Bill, when we talked about what's happening in Europe, it made me think, wait a second, it isn't just a decision that we have to make. Let's say, for example, Joe Biden says, okay, we're going to wait and we'll be peaceful and we'll just ride this thing out with no more promotion of the war, okay, in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. We still have to worry about England. You mentioned, didn't they gave them missiles from England.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other people who are making decisions. And because of this NATO compact, I love what Trump said in 2016 or 2017. He told NATO, look, if you don't pay your money, your dues, because the U.S. was paying for everything, if you don't pay up on your dues, then if you go to war, we're not going to support you. Yeah. You're on your...
Well, is NATO still, I guess you could say, yeah, it is, Russia, China, but is it still a viable thing?
NATO was designed to protect the Western world from the Soviet Union, but there's no more Soviet Union. My belief is that we villainize Russia like we have, and we should have embraced Russia as a trading partner and brought them into our world. Listen, people say, well, you sound like a Putin apologist. Let me just explain something to you, all right? In 1944, between 40 and 45, there was no more of a villain, no more of a tyrant, no more of a lunatic on the world stage than Adolf Hitler, right? But within just a few short years of rebuilding after the war was over and Hitler had left the stage, all of a sudden we were told that we should welcome in trading partners to Germany and Japan. When I was a kid growing up, we were so anxious to get Japan stuff into our economic system that we used to get toys that were made out of old, like, coffee cans in Japanese. Mm-hmm. You could look at the toy on the outside and it looked like a car, but if you happened to pry it open and look on the inside, you'd still see the paint and the graphics from the coffee can. That's the God's truth. They were so anxious to sell their product here and to become part of the world stage, and we were so anxious to get them into our economy. Now we're being told, well, we shouldn't welcome Russia. Listen, I welcome Ukrainians. I welcome the Russians. I wish they'd sit down at a table. I wish they would shake hands. I wish they'd come to some sort of a smart, intelligent, nonviolent agreement, end the war, and then welcome them both into our world economy. But no, this administration under this blinking doofus, This guy who I wouldn't have him at my table to talk baseball. I mean, the guy's a numbskull, and he's the guy who's talking about the world stage and politics and the American position on things. Secretary of State. By the way, someone should buy the man an H, because he pronounces his first name Anthony, not Anthony with an H. It's Anthony Blinken. All right. So maybe if for Christmas, if you know the guy, buy him an H. We could go on and on, but
well, you can buy him a vowel or a clue too. But
that's
true.
true.
A whole different thing.
That's true.
But I understand, he's trying to figure out how to bail out of this thing, because he knows his days are numbered, and his whole department, the State Department, they're all leaving.
You say that, but he's part of this whole plan to escalate the war in the Ukraine. By the way,
well, that might be the only way he can keep a job.
By the way, did you see Joe Biden came out after there's a peace, we haven't mentioned this yet, but they're working on a peace deal between Israel and Hezbollah.
Yeah.
I guess it's 60 days long, and it can end at any moment. If Hezbollah fires on Israel, it's over. They're back into it. Bingo. This is not an agreement, by the way, with Hamas.
Right.
That continues, but Hezbollah has said, "Uncle," and this is not working out for us. And apparently, there's a deal. Joe Biden goes on TV yesterday as if he put it all together. I don't.
Yeah, he wants to have another notch in his list of credits, and he really doesn't have a list of credits of things that he's accomplished. But they want to do that because they're talking points for 4 years from now, 2 years from now. They want to sit there and try to set the table for future elections.
From what I understand, the deal was put together by Israel.
Yeah.
People may say, well, why would Israel want to have a peace treaty with Hezbollah? They're fighting on two fronts, folks, and maybe three if you consider Iran another front. So if you come to some kind of a peace treaty with one of your fronts, it gives you a chance to shore up the other fronts, meaning Hamas. You can bring
and that's no matter how fragile it is. It's all down to a time thing.
So it's interesting. We have so much going on in our world, and I keep praying every day that we make it until the 20th of January. And I think that on the day he's president, I think he'll get into making decisions that day. He's got stuff in the pipeline right now, President Trump does. He's setting up these deals right now so that when he becomes president, they'll drive him over to the Oval Office, and I'm sure he'll be signing executive orders that day.
When he first got in, didn't he sit down and start signing executive orders away?
I believe so, yeah.
I think you can look for that list to be tripled, if not quadrupled, this time around. He's not going to waste any time.
They delivered the Christmas tree to the White House yesterday.
Oh, such a tremendous.
Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. And Jill Biden was there to greet it. I'll let her explain the story behind this year's tree. Listen.
This beautiful Fraser fir was grown at the Cartner's Christmas tree farm, where the Cartner family has been growing trees for more than 60 years. And their farm is nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, a region that was recently devastated by Hurricane Helene. The Cartner family lost thousands of trees in the storm, but this one remained standing, and they named it Tremendous for the extraordinary hope that it represents. It's an honor to be here today with Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, as well as members of the North Carolina National Guard and their families, who are leading the work to rebuild after the hurricane. This tree recognizes your tremendous strength and service. In just a few days, volunteers from all over the country will pour in to transform this tree and decorate the entire White House. And out of the whirlwind of glitter and garlands will come the warmth and comfort of the season. I can't wait for you all to share in it. Happy holidays.
Okay, so if I got this right, all right, they went to North Carolina where Hurricane Helene just wreaked devastated. It was terrible. And they went to this tree farm that was just, all their trees were knocked down except for this
massacred. Yeah.
one big, beautiful tree that was standing
the last
out
one
there.
standing.
It weathered the storm, right? It weathered everything. Everything that Helene threw at this tree, it withstood. So what did the Bidens do? Bill? What did the Bidens do?
Well, he got it out of his little saw. They went out there and they cut it down, the last one standing.
Yes.
You know, if you're the last of your race,
Uh-huh.
you know, what are we going to do? We're going to take you and sterilize you so you can't continue?
Well,
You know?
I mean, you just give the Bidens a saw and give them a little bit of time. And, I mean, people may say, well, you know, it means a lot to the people of North Carolina. Listen, I would have made a story. I would have had that story and said, we could have taken that tree, but as a sign of regrowth, a sign of rebirth, we decided to leave that tree standing as a symbol.
Because that tree would produce a lot of seeds that will get blown in the air
Yes.
and populate that forest all over again. Yeah, there might be a little tree that didn't get the devastation that's on the ground. You know what? I would have said, little big man, I would have gotten that little tree, said, you know what, this year, this is the tree it represents. And I don't even know that I would have cut it. I would have just sat there and potted that thing and said, this represents new birth.
But you can't tell me they couldn't have gone to Montana or Wyoming or one of these other great states that have beautiful pine trees and have it wouldn't have been a shortage. It would have been a thinning of the herd. But they go to where there's been a hurricane and devastation, and they make sure that the whole thing is complete. Now there's no living tree at that tree farm. Unbelievable.
They're all gone, but that's the way the Biden administration works. And she was so happy to talk about it and do that little story. You know, the story of the Christmas tree a la Biden's.
Also, Bill, the other story about another politician on the Democratic side was after a couple of weeks of being off the world stage and working through her grief in Hawaii, Kamala decided to make an appearance on television yesterday, and I saw the video when it was released. I was watching a news program, and they said, oh, and this just in, we have a videotape from Kamala Harris, her first statement since losing the election. They went to the videotape, folks, and I thought it was just me. I thought maybe I'm being too harsh. But she looked drunk. She
snockered.
She looked snockered. And then I heard what she was saying. Listen.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
What the hell is she talking about? I'm sorry, but Kamala, who's taking power from anybody?
Well,
God forgive me, but I was thinking, why would she release this? Then I was thinking, if you talk to people who worked for her, she went through, I think the figure was like 93% turnover of staff members while she was a vice president. She couldn't keep people on a regular basis working for her because she's that difficult to work with. I know she has the cackle and everyone thinks she's so charming, but the fact of the matter is she's a tough person to deal with. And I was thinking, well, why would the staff allow her to put that videotape on the stage? And I was thinking, this was somebody who works for her who figured, okay, I've had it with her attitude. She wants to put that out because Kamala probably thought it looks really good. Okay, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll get it right out there, Madam Vice President. And And
she spent $1.5 billion, a record, on the campaign, ended up $20 million in the hole, fired her campaigners without notice, without anything, not even a thank you. You're not going to get paid. So now these people are out there doing a GoFundMe. So, yeah, according to her speech, you have a special purpose, like in The Jerk. Yeah, don't reproduce. I mean, she is.
It's amazing, Bill. The DNC staffers are out trying to find money.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm glad she lost. And I'm sorry that you guys put in all that work. I don't think it's fair that you didn't get paid for what you did, whether you're one of whether you're a good employee or a bad employee, because there were people out there ripping down signs and doing things they shouldn't do. But the simple fact is, you were hired, you were promised, she is obligated to pay you.
There's a lady, her name is, I think it's Lindy Lee. She was she was the head of the finance committee during the Harris campaign. She's also a big contributor. I guess she's a very wealthy lady. And she came out and she said they had a conference call with Kamala yesterday, too. And she said, listen, we're sitting there around this conference table with Kamala, and Kamala's talking about Thanksgiving recipes. Never mind the fact that they lost, like Bill said, $20 million. They're $20 million in the hole. She only ran for the office like 100 days, maybe 100 plus days, and they had they blew over $1 billion,
and most in history.
Bill, they can't account for it. The thing is, she said, nobody in the Democratic side is taking blame for what happened and where the money went.
Well, it went into pockets. They knew they were going to lose, so there was a money grab. Hey, we need your help to fight Trump and his terrible team here. We need your help. We're desperate.
Yeah.
And then she bragged that they had raised over $1 billion. Well, that's a lot. They actually did way over. They would have kept going. They would have had $2 billion. They had $1.5 billion. And they blew it all. I mean, and they don't have receipts for any of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, one of the investors, a billionaire, said the fact that she can't account for the money should disqualify her from ever running for any office again. The buck does stop with the chief executive. Truman used to have that sign on his desk. The buck stops here. Buck stops here. And that meant that he was accountable for everything. He knew what was going on. Kamala should have known where the money was going. She should have had, every day, she should have had at least a 10-minute update on where they're spending the money.
Well, I guarantee that she got some of that money. I mean, I don't have proof, but, time will tell. You'll see by, maybe she's going to upgrade her home or something, but, yeah, I'm sure she's profiting from it.
I wanted to, Bill and I talked about whether we should air this next tape or not, but I think we're talking about Democrats and how they take failure. And this next tape, if you are sensitive to rough language, cursing, I would suggest that you, this is the end of the program almost, but you can turn this down for about a minute and 25 seconds and you won't have to deal with this. But this is a guy who was a key man in the Clinton administration, James Carville. James Carville was like, he was the guy who ran the campaigns for Bill Clinton, successful campaigns. And he is literally the guy, he better sit down and have a cup of tea or something like that and read a newspaper. Take away the newspapers, read a good book or watch maybe some movie. Just get away from politics because it's going to kill him. He's married to Mary Matlin, who is a Republican. Basically, she did the same thing for Republicans that he did for Democrats. She was an advisor to candidates and then an advisor to, I think it was George Herbert Walker Bush. And I don't know, they're still married, folks. And it's hard to understand how they can make it work. But she has said that they have an agreement. They never talk politics at home. Now, I'm married, folks, and I don't know how they do that. I mean, the person I'm married to, we're on the same page, and we're always talking politics. You know,
we're at a time that we're divided, and there are a lot of couples breaking up because of political differences. But what Carville says here is pretty colorful.
Yes. Now, if you're offended by hard language, by swearing, I would suggest you maybe just turn the volume down for a minute and a half, okay?
Good idea.
The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. Supposedly the campaign said that wasn't the term de facto, but they did. When you put a campaign together and you hire young people to do work, let me tell you exactly what you tell these people, what I would tell them. Not only am I not interested in your fucking opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. You're 23 years old. I don't really give a shit what you think. And let me tell you another huge error, huge fucking error this made, is when people said campaigns need to reflect progressive values. No, they don't. No, they don't. Campaigns are authoritarian by their nature. And if I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot. I'm really not interested in your uninformed, stupid, jackass opinion as to whether you go on Joe Rogan or not.
And furthermore, get off my lawn.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I've learned,
what?
If James Carville goes to your church, do not let him lead a Bible study group.
Yeah, don't let him read the homily. No, you're absolutely correct. He is salty, to say the least. You know, and I understand where he's coming from. He has had success, major success. And nowadays, it seems like he said every 23-year-old comes out of school and they think they got it all figured out. You know, well, I can handle this. I'm going to run Kamala's campaign. You know, have you wondered why MSNBC is for sale? I know they say it's not technically for sale yet, but Comcast has separated it from NBC. So they don't have. Here's the thing. I mean, Bill O'Reilly explained it perfectly yesterday. What has happened is Comcast has taken MSNBC and they're separating it from NBC, which means that they no longer have the resources of NBC to fall back on, meaning money, you know, for budgets.
Right.
They don't have the correspondence that they can call upon at a moment's notice. They can't use the videotape from these people. Everything is separate now. They have to live and die on their own. But what people are telling people in the know is that MSNBC is on the block. And there's so much so that Rachel Maddow, I understand, she broke down on the air when discussing whether Elon Musk was going to buy MSNBC. I guess not something that she entertains in a positive way, you know. It's and also...
Well, he does. He entertains buying it.
Yeah, he said how much? His answer when I guess it was Donald Trump who made the recommendation. Hey, Elon, MSNBC.
One of his sons, yeah.
Hey, Elon, MSNBC is for sale, and Elon answered on X, how much? You know, who knows? You know, he bought Twitter, and everyone said it's going to fail. He got rid of 75% of the staff because they were redundant, and now it's making more money than ever, and it's very successful. And it's also more balanced. 47%. They just did a poll. 48% of the people who use X are Democrats. 47% are Republicans. And in 2022, it was like 68% were Democrats and 32% were Republican. Big difference.
I thought all those Democrats after the election were going to drop.
Oh, I know. They didn't. No, it's a very useful resource. And by the way, what they found out is Elon Musk he's not censoring the Republicans, and he's not censoring the Democrats either. It's an open forum, like he said it would be.
Yeah.
You know, and so the Democrats realize, well, okay, I can't muzzle the Republicans, but I can still say what I want to say.
Yeah.
So they stayed.
Interesting news. Not only the New England states talking about seceding from the Union, and New York as well. New York, Kathy Hochul did yesterday.
What?
They legalized adultery.
Well, I mean, does that surprise you? It's Kathy
No,
Hochul.
absolutely. No, but my question is, and why the hell get married?
Well, hey, listen,
I mean, if you're saying, well, it's legal to commit adultery.
Another reason why their motto is "I love New York."
No. They ought to change it. I love myself.
I like that.
They should
myself.
have an apple there that has rainbow stripes in it.
I like it. Oh gosh, did you hear about the young girl? She was working for Target, and she had a badge with her name on it, and she had written like "Jesus saves the world," "Jesus can help you," or something like. Just a little comment that she had written on her badge, and people at Target said, "You got to take that badge off." She said, "Why?" She said, "You can't have those words on your badge." And she said, "Well, wait a second. You allow other people to put, rainbow and BLM comments on their badge, and there's never been a problem with that. Why can't I put a comment about Jesus on my badge?" They fired her. So is it a two-way street? By the way, when you do your Black Friday shopping, you might want to think about that. I'm just saying.
Well, what department store was
No, it's
that?
Target.
Target.
Yeah.
Target.
Target. En français, s'il vous plaît. Target, monsieur.
The poop on the tar.
Yeah.
Forget them, and I love that place, but that upsets me.
On a positive note, I just read where adding to the list of companies that are dropping their DEI initiatives is Walmart. Walmart has decided that whole thing about diversity, equity, and inclusion was a waste of time, money, and actually hurting the bottom line. So they've dropped their DEI initiative. They've moved away from that.
They probably were waiting for an excuse, knowing it was a bad move all along. But Biden's out, and normalcy is in for at least 4 years, although the Democrats are going to try to trip it up. But, again, I'll go back to that number, 6%. The 6%ers of the world were telling the 94%ers how it was going to be.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And the overwhelming majority of people love Trump. Ask CNN. They did the story.
Yeah, they're saying things like, well, now that you're going to do this, you have to follow this rule. No, we don't. No, we don't have to do that anymore. You guys lost. We what? Yeah, you lost. Remember? Sharon Stone, come back to the United States and keep your mouth shut. You'll get through it. No, there won't be a problem.
Actually, I'm not saying she's not welcome, but she can stay right where she is.
Well, I would imagine if she keeps talking like that, our good friends in Italy, and there are wonderful people. I think the Prime Minister
Don't
of
buy
Italy,
her a boat to get out.
Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, is a conservative and really a shining star on the European stage. They'll probably, like you said, buy her a ticket to get her out of here.
Here you go, Sharon. Free compliments of everybody. Get the hell out.
One last thing to pass on. Trump team officially signed their transition agreement with the Biden White House to formalize the transition. What I thought was interesting was they will be privately funded and will not use government technology or buildings. Now, people are saying on the left, why are they doing that? Why are they not using government funds, and why are they doing it in their own building, and why are they not using our technology, government technology? I remind you of what happened during the first Trump administration, where the FBI bugged the Trump team. They had all that. They had all the nice toys. The government brought them all in, and they proceeded to wiretap everything that was happening with President Trump. So I think President Trump says, once, shame on you. twice. Shame on me. So I'm just about done. Hey, we should remind people if they want to get a good cup of coffee. You want to do it and help out a good cause, meaning this show. Go to rightsideshop.com, rightsideshop.com, and you can see all the stuff, the swag that we have there. Plus, you'll see that delicious medium blend Jim and Bill's Right Side coffee.
Oh, yeah, it smells good.
It does smell good. I can smell it from here. And the decaf, too. It's delicious. And also, you won't find a better jingle sung by those talented Mexicales who come across the border and sing our jingle. Guys, if you would, Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous job. Wonderful job. Thank you.
You know, Jim, you can never go wrong when you go right side.
Ooh, I like that. Write that down. That's a slogan. You
There you
never
go.
can go wrong when you go right side. Very good. Okay. I'll forget it.
That's a shirt.
Yes.
We'll send it off to the crew.
Exactly. I'm done, my friend. I hope everyone has a great day. Now, listen, we're not here tomorrow. You're saying why? Well, it's Thanksgiving. You know, we have things to do. We're not even sure whether we'll be here on Friday. I think we will probably be here on Friday. What do you think, Bill? We're vacillating back and forth.
70% chance.
Yeah. Sounded like a weather forecast. 70% chance of Jim and Bill.
We're gonna. Well, you know what? Though, a lot of things can happen between now and then. But tomorrow is the day to be a glutton and
That's
eat,
right.
eat, and then eat some more.
It's a day of football and food.
and just remember,
Yes.
the more turkey you eat tomorrow,
Yes.
is the less turkey you're going to have to eat in leftovers.
That's true.
So you may as well just eat it all
That's
up.
true. And when
All
you
the food.
when you're starting to feel full and guilty about gaining weight, just imagine, if you will, that food is all diet food and it's just good for you. You know, I think that when you pass on and go to the great beyond, all of the things you can't have right here are requirements up there. Like, you know, you want to lose some weight, here you have to have this ice cream sundae.
I think these are all the indulgences that you're allowed now, because in the great beyond, we're beyond that. So enjoy them while you have them.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to think there may be a real good
There's
pizza.
an ice cream stand up there with your name on
I
it.
got a heavenly ice cream. I can see it now. You know, every single mouthful of our ice cream tastes like the first time you had it. Think about that for a second. The first time you had ice cream as a kid, it just exploded, right? Oh, the flavor, the taste, it was fabulous. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go get. I think I'm gonna go get an ice cream cone. Would you take us out of here, please?
All right, I'll end it all with hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here. Let's go get an ice cream.
This is CRN America.